We're talking about community engagement in a college setting with a special focus on Hurricane Florence recovery. Many students already have a service mentality, but faculty and staff can assist them in their civic development. It's campus to community. It's Campus to Community. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Hannah Baggott-Anderson, Lecturer of English and your new Literacy Commons Faculty Fellow here at UNCP. With me today to talk about community engagement and Hurricane Florence recovery efforts in Robeson County is Ms. Christie Poteet, Director of the Office of Community and Civic Engagement. Thanks for joining me today, Christie.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
To start off, could you just let us know a little bit more about what you do on a daily basis here at UNCP?
Sure. As the Director of the Office for Community and Civic Engagement, I get the pleasure of working with students to help them be more active and engaged in the community. So we work with over 160 community partners to find places for students to build skills and experiences related to their field, while also giving them an opportunity to give back. So we do this in a couple of different ways. One is through academic service learning, and per capita, UNCP offers more service learning opportunities than any other school in the UNC system, according to a recent survey that we just did. So that's kind of our claim to fame right now. And then we also offer co-curricular opportunities. So in the last academic year, we offered about 80 opportunities to students to just get engaged because they want to, or looking for something to do in their free time, or just on their own looking to build skills and experiences, or just get involved and make a difference in their communities.
That's awesome. That's super great to hear about. On a more serious note, I do want to shift our focus specifically today to talk about Hurricane Florence. How was that experience for you personally, and also for the university, wherever you'd like to start?
I would say personally, it caused a lot of anxiety preparing for this storm than probably we faced after the storm, personally anyway. Because of Hurricane Matthew, you know, I told my students, I said, PTSD is a real thing. It's real for me. So preparing for Florence, I thought about all the things that we had to do after Matthew to make sure that people were where they needed to be, that they were fed, that they were housed, that they had clothing, because we were all reacting. And I think for Hurricane Florence, because of what we learned from Matthew, we were more prepared, but also more anxious because we knew what could potentially happen. I think I even made the comment at one time, I wish it would just come and get over with so we can get on the ground and start doing what we need to do, because we knew what we would be facing. Personally, I didn't have a lot of damage to my home, but the night of the storm, it was quite nerve-wracking to think about all that was happening in my community and all the damage that would be happening. And as the wind would blow and the rains were coming down, I kept thinking about all the people that were going to be flooded and all the homes that were going to be destroyed, and how the community would come together, but would it be enough? So a lot of things were running through my mind during the storm. After the storm, I think that because we were so prepared, the community response was immediate. As soon as the wind stopped blowing, we hit the ground running. We came to the care center, assessed the damage. We couldn't get here initially because campus was flooded, but I think university officials took some really great measures to make sure that we didn't see the damage that we saw before during Matthew. They tried to be as proactive as they possibly could so that we didn't have to be as reactive afterwards. The same thing that they did with students during Matthew, they did before this time. So they had a Sodexo plan, they had a housing plan, they tried to get students off campus as soon as possible. And I think our university officials did a great job of preparing our entire campus for the storm. As a community, I think that we were more prepared, but I think that communities that saw damage last time saw damage this time. And not only is that devastating to see your home flooded one time, but to see it flooded a second time is, it just destroys your morale. It destroys, you know what to do to recover, but do you have the energy to recover? I had one person tell me, a staff member on campus, that he had just finished remodeling his house for Matthew the Friday before. And then a week later, he had to evacuate his house again because of flooding. So that turmoil that it takes on people, we're going to be dealing with the aftermath of Florence for a long time because we were not done addressing Matthew.
Right, because Matthew was just, what, 2 years ago?
Less than 2 years ago.
2 years, so 2016. So then recovering from that, I mean, that's what I expected out of Robeson County, because there were parts of Cumberland that weren't set up again after Matthew. So,
but in a weird way, we came together and we were more prepared, and so I did not feel as frantic after Florence. I felt like, okay, we're going to do this. This is a job. And I even made the mistake one time of asking someone at one of the shelters, so you're here again this year? Like it was a yearly thing that we're just going to do from now on.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to be here together every year. We're going to, be at shelters and high schools, or we're going to be delivering food together. And when I said that, I thought, what a weird thing to say that, not last year, but the year before. Even last year we were preparing for a storm. It didn't hit, thank goodness. But, the year before that, Matthew brought us all together, and it was like, oh, I saw you here the year before. Great, good to see you here at the shelter again. And it's almost too common, for us to be meeting here again in this place where we're facing so much devastation.
Exactly, and it is unfortunate, but also interesting to have that feeling of what seems like, well, we get to experience the sense of togetherness, even in light of the tragedy. It's fascinating to me.
It is fascinating, especially because of a community like Robeson County, one of the poorest counties in North Carolina, one of the poorest counties in the entire nation. But when you see the worst in our county, you see the best in its people. So we're facing a lot of devastation, but we were already facing issues of poverty, literacy, education, health, so it's an opportunity for us to evaluate where we are as a community, as a people, and how we're going to continue to come together to move forward. Whether we have a hurricane next year or not, how can we continue to bring our community together and help us face the issues that we have together?
Exactly. I think, too, if we can bring up the photo that we have of the food truck experience that you had, you said in Maxton, that's where you were. Could you tell us a little bit about that while we try to show our viewers that photo?
Absolutely. So, a friend of mine reached out to me and said that there was a small community in Maxton called Jonesville, there's the photo there, that had a lot of people who were displaced, who did not have access to maybe Lumberton where all the supplies were being delivered, and they needed food. So a friend of mine, Ray Scott, who owns Scott's Tire Pros and Center here in Pembroke, and also as a university partner with his food truck, we bring him on campus all the time, Doughboys Wood Fire Pizza. He asked me where he could set up to give out some food. I said, well, I just got a phone call about this place in Maxton, Jonesville. Neither of us had ever been there before. When we first pulled up, one of the ladies from the community said, just put it in my yard. And I pulled up, I was like, no one's going to come here to get food. We need to be like at a church or a community center, at a university. We need to be somewhere where people would know that they're welcome to come. And the lady looked at me and said, they're going to come. And I was like, okay, sure they are. Over 150 people came out that night in the 2 hours that we served.
Wow.
To get food, to fellowship, just I think really to lift their spirits, to let them know that someone cared about them, someone was looking out for them, and someone's paying attention to their needs, even though they're in rural Robeson County, the most rural of Robeson County. Someone still cared about them and wanted to make sure that all of their needs were met as well.
That's just so exciting. It's so exciting that you had so many people come out, especially because how that information gets out to people in the community. How are you spreading the news that you were there?
Really, word of mouth, Facebook, social media. It started on that day about 3 o'clock. We confirmed that we were going to go to Jonesville, and 7 o'clock that night we set up. So it was really in a 4-hour time span that we were able to get the word out to that many people. But in a community like Jonesville, they rely so heavily on each other anyway for support, for general supplies throughout the rest of the year, for resources, that it didn't take much for someone just to pick up the phone and call 10 people, then that person called 10 people, and before we knew it, we had 150 people in this lady's yard who were ready to eat, ready to fellowship, ready to help, ready to give other people, and from there, it grew. The next day, more trucks were coming to Jonesville. They started setting up at their fire department and doing water and diaper distributions. And from that, Scott's Tire said, hey, I want to continue to help. So they've actually started an initiative for the month of October that we're putting the brakes on hunger. So if you get a brake package with Scott's Tire, so you purchase brakes, you get those done there, he'll donate $25 to the Care Resource Center to continue our hunger relief efforts. So one small act of kindness has now grown into something really tremendous for this community of Jonesville, but also a partnership with a business who's wanting to give back and inspiring other people to give back as well.
Yeah, and centered again back at our university, right? It's all growing out of this. I'll ask then too, to bring it back to our university specifically, you were, I assume, kind of in charge of recovery, or at least in part in charge of recovery efforts on campus and organizing the volunteers when we finally got to come back. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So the nature of our work is to provide students with opportunities to be engaged. So immediately we started getting phone calls and having conversations with students, faculty, and staff about what they could do to help. We've created a culture of service at UNCP. I mean, we were founded for our community, we're invested in our community, and over the 10 years that I've been here, I've seen a tremendous growth in how we view service and how much we appreciate service as an institution. So it was no surprise as soon as, again, the rain stopped dropping, that we had people reaching out to us asking, what can I do? Alumni, what can I do? Investors in the campus, what can I do? So we utilized UNCP Serve and partnered with our regular community partners like the United Way, Communities in Schools, First Baptist Church, to find ways for our students to get engaged. So before classes even started, we had athletes at Bryant Circle in Maxton, one of the communities that was hit pretty hard, doing recovery there. So cleaning out people's homes, helping them rebuild, helping them get back to where they were. There you see the wrestling team providing some help, cleaning out. I walked into that house and it had been completely gutted. And the wrestling team did most of that. Again, the wrestling team, that lady picture there, she wanted us to call her Grandma Shirley. And Grandma Shirley was so excited to have the wrestling team there. She asked for a copy of the picture so she could hang it up on her mantle. And so she could always remember the help that she received that day, because she said, as soon as I looked at the damage, I didn't know how I was going to do this. You know, she's an elderly woman, she needed some help. Again, the wrestling team here going into people's homes, carrying out furniture, helping them make sure that they can recover as much as they possibly can of, you know, family treasures, heirlooms, whatever they could get out. Our students were there, letting people know that the university is investing in communities, not just those in our around Pembroke, but all over our county. Making sure that people all over our county feel the UNCP touch, that, you know, we truly are changing lives through education, not only of our students, but of our community, our faculty and staff, because we're teaching them to be committed to civic engagement for a lifetime.
That's a great, I just love it. It inspires me to even hear it again. I mean, it's something that I think about on a daily basis too, but hearing it from you in that beautifully worded language is awesome. I'll say too, I think we have a video to show of a particular group of students that you work with. Would you like to share with us about that?
Absolutely. So this was, I think, the Wednesday after the hurricane. We started working with First Baptist Church in Pembroke to deliver food in communities that had been hit hard. I think this day we were delivering this food to Pembroke Housing Authority. Strickland Heights, which is a community located less than a mile from campus, was evacuated. Parts of it were evacuated. But I think what people fail to realize is that many parts of our community were dealing with hunger before the storm. They're going to deal with hunger during the storm, and when you suffer a loss, it's going to really affect them for a while after. So we fed them immediately, but we needed to think about how can we continue to feed them or meet their needs long after, because any resources that they had, they probably utilized during the storm or lost during the storm. So we started to clear out our food pantry, and with the hopes that we would meet the immediate need, and then people would continue to give to us, so that in the months to come, we would be able to provide an ongoing resource for community and students. So our on-campus food pantry, which the video is showing you a little bit of what's going on inside there, we're grabbing some hygiene products that we can give out as well, to make sure that as community and students continue these efforts of, you know, relief, that we have resources available to them so people can continue to give. We're open 5 days a week for about 15 hours a week. Students can come in twice a month. Community actually have to participate in a workshop, an educational workshop on financial literacy or healthy eating or career readiness, and then we give them a voucher to receive food. So it's kind of twofold. We're trying to educate them, but also trying to meet the need of hunger. So here you are, we have two students here. One's Harrison Pegram, who's our student service leader, who's loading up our van so that we can deliver this food to local communities in our area that were suffering the most. And this van has been all over Robeson County.
I want to say it's fairly new, right? How did your office come across this van?
Well, we have some great supporters at the university who believe in what we do and our efforts, and I kept making the case, you know, we're all over the community. Wouldn't it be great if people knew when we were there or knew what we were doing there? And so we had my Vice Chancellor, Dr. Lisa Schaefer, invested in us in a significant way and made some decisions that allowed us to purchase this van. So now that we're traveling all over the county, really all over the country, because that van's been to New Orleans. It'll be going to Atlanta for fall break, so students can do service there. So whenever we're arriving in that van and students start piling out and they're carrying food or resources, at Christmas time we deliver toys to kids. At Thanksgiving we deliver food boxes. The people in the community know that we're there, they know that UNCP is there, and they know that we care. So it sends a message. It says, here we are. And it also lets people know where they can go if they need resources. Actually, during the hurricane, we had some people from the community come to campus, and they didn't know where else to go. So they came to campus, and Chief McDumphy Cummings called me and said, Christie, people are coming here to evacuate. Once they've evacuated, they're coming to campus. Did you tell them to come here? I'm like, no. But I think it's because we're really the only resource for them in Pembroke throughout the rest of the year, that they didn't know where else to go.
Right.
And they knew that if they came here, they would get the information that they needed to go to the next place. So to me, it was a compliment that people in our community know that we're a resource for them. And I think it's because they see our van, they see our faces, they see our shirt, they see us caring. We put a lot of action behind our words and say, here we are in your community helping you do better. And they know that's a resource. So when they're at their worst, they come right over here and say, please help me, and we're able to.
That assumption is so important, right? Because it takes a while to build that up in a community.
It does.
Especially with Robeson County, right? That's my assumption. I mean, this is my fourth year here. I feel like I'm still learning. How long have you been here, like in this community?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. And when I first got here, I moved from Greensboro, but I'm from a small town in Tennessee, so I was used to small towns, but in the first 3 months I was ready to go. I said, this is not for me, I cannot be here, there's nothing here, I don't know what to do, But my first Pembroke Day, which is a celebration of community, it's coming up this week actually on October 4th, my first Pembroke Day introduced me to a community that cared. We actually did a food drive that day, and that was 10 years ago. And so many people brought food, I thought, wow, this is a place I want to be. A community that cares, a community that almost everyone has a need. I mean, over 30% of our population lives below the poverty line. So there are a lot of people with needs in our community, but they still give on a regular basis. And that was exciting to me. That appealed to me. I thought, I can make a difference here. This is where I need to be. So shuffle forward a few years. I buy a house here. I say, now Robeson County is my home. This is where I need to be. This is where I'm making a difference. This is where I plan to raise my family one day, so that they know the heart of the people here, because it's a community like no other.
Again, more inspiring words from you, which is super exciting. That leads kind of to my next question, which would be specific to hurricane recovery. But you could kind of think about the work that CCE has done and our students have done. What do you think your proudest moment has been out of CCE this semester? Let's just limit it this semester.
I'll say two things.
Okay.
One is the response afterwards. So immediately students started asking, what can I do? And they started to look to us as a resource. What can I do? How do I connect with you? Because I know that you'll help me find a place. Our athletics division reached out to us. And that's a relationship that we've been trying to build for a while, because they have their own volunteer initiatives, and we keep, saying, let's pull together. So Dick Christie and I have had conversations about how we can bring the athletes on board with what CC is doing. And one of the football coaches called me, right the weekend before classes started, and goes, I have 100 people. Where are we going to put them? And I'm like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for, is this partnership that we can work together to make sure our students are getting a great experience. So that's what I'm really proud of with CCE. But I have a really great group of students this year that are so passionate about the work that we do. We got some really great initiatives going on. We have a new STEM-related literacy program. So one of our student service leaders, Miriam, she's a physics major. She's going into local elementary schools at the Pembroke Housing Authority, getting students excited about STEM. Megan Kennedy has students all over the county doing tutoring. Harrison Pegram is working on a voter initiative so that students are voting in the interim elections too. So we'll do voter registration this year. We've started a new thing called Take Over CCE that Taylor Strickland is overseeing, where students are sharing their experience about working with CCE. We're partnering with Food Lion this year, so Bailey Lowry and my care team. I have a lot of care students who work in the care center that's completely student ran. So Lucas and Kat and Ethan and Deb and Abigail are all working together to make sure that we can be a part of this challenge. So basically with the Food Lion Challenge, we have 2 opportunities to win $10,000 each time. Ooh. And one of the things that we're going to do is a Super Bowl, so S-O-U-P-E-R, so Super Bowl.
Okay.
And at our Super Bowl, we are competing with other institutions in the state. And the school that raises the most money during the Super Bowl, or the most canned goods during the Super Bowl, can actually win $10,000 from Food Lion Feeds.
Wow.
So it's a really great initiative. We're going to kick it off at Pembroke Day.
Okay.
Another opportunity is that we can collect MVP numbers. So anytime anyone in any Food Lion shops, if we have your MVP number, we connect it to our food pantry, we get points. And then that's another opportunity for us to win and give back to the Care Resource Center. So that's another big initiative. Everything going on with the Literacy Commons, having you on board, that's something really exciting. We're continuing to grow that. We're offering internships with State Employees Credit Union for the fall. We usually only offer those in the spring. We have some exciting news coming out that I can't share yet, but we're going to continue to grow our program. So we're not done. We've seen a tremendous growth in the last 5 years as our staff has grown. And we have people who are extremely passionate about the work that we do. Sandy, Gloria, Dalton, they're all very committed. We're known as a team that works well together, that's committed to our community. Last academic year, our students did 34,000 volunteer hours.
Wow.
That's the equivalent of about $800,000 that our students put back into the community. As I mentioned before, we have more service learning courses per capita than any other institution, engaging about 30% of our students in service learning efforts. Mm-hmm. So those are things to be proud of. We're really excited about our growth, but we're not done. You know, as people learn about what we do through opportunities like this, we continue to grow, we continue to expand. We're thinking about what we can do next. How do we get our students engaged in this? If someone brings up a new opportunity, we're thinking about, okay, we're on it. How are we going to address this need? How are we going to get our students involved? Our long-term plan is to develop a community center that we can start providing outreach opportunities to the community in the community. So we actually want to start getting students off campus and thinking about how we can start putting them in the community, working with community members. So we're thinking about how do we get to places like Shannon, North Carolina, which is a small rural community. How do we get students to Jonesville? You know, how can I get a literacy program going on in Jonesville, which Oxnard Elementary School is right there. We're already in Oxnard, but how can I expand it even more? So exciting opportunities. I always tell students, Robinson County is like a petri dish. Like there's so many things that you can learn and grow from, you know, from this opportunity. Pick a need. And I say it with excitement, but it's not really exciting that we have so many issues that we face. But it is exciting that as an institution of learning, we have the opportunity to engage our students in work that matters. So because we have this petri dish of issues, pick one. We'll take it, we'll address it, and we'll grow that program, and eventually we will change lives in that area. And I firmly believe that.
Yes, and also you're meeting the educational needs of the student,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, that to me almost feels secondary in this bigger conversation, but we still meet the objectives of what, you know, a college education is technically, you know, supposed to be getting that degree, but there's so much more to it at UNCP.
Absolutely. 80% of students enrolled in service learning classes stated that the service component helped them better connect to the course curriculum. So, not a math person really, but if you would have told me how algebra connects to the changing the world, I would have been all about algebra. You know, so we help students make those connections about how what you're learning in the classroom matters to something bigger than just your degree or yourself. How does this contribute to the entire world? It matters to them. In fact, students who are enrolled in service learning during their first 2 semesters are retained at a rate of 76%.
That's incredible.
Retained at a higher rate, why? Because we create immediately that sense of belonging, that connection to our campus, that connection to our community, where they want to come back. Learning becomes exciting when it makes a difference in someone else's life. So I encourage everyone to do service learning, but you know, I do recognize that maybe it's not for everyone, but there is a way to connect student learning to creating change in the world. You know, and it matters to students, it matters to our campus, it matters to our community.
How would then, as we start to have to wrap up here soon, how would people contact you about getting involved in volunteer opportunities, both our students on campus and other potential community partners? How would they do that?
UNCP Serve. So that's our clearinghouse for all opportunities on campus and in the community. It's connected to students' Brave web accounts, and faculty and staff, and actually community members can create an account as well. So UNCP Serve, just serve.uncp.edu. It's really easy to remember. All of our partners are listed on there. You can search by need, you can search by interest, you can search by location. So even if you're in Charlotte and you're looking for an opportunity, we have partners in Charlotte.
Okay.
Last year, we actually got a list of where all of our distance ed students were located and tried to find opportunities for engagement or partners in areas with the highest concentration of distance ed students. Because even if you're not at Pembroke, you're still a UNCP student. We still want this to be a part of your education. So we're always thinking about how can we help you connect to your community wherever you are. We want you to see Pembroke as your community if you're here, and it is, but if you're not, where can you go to get connected and still apply that learning?
So cool. I had no idea that that's something that Serve did or that the office did. That's new information to me. Great. What other continued efforts, any other points you want to leave us with out of CCE?
Anyone can make a difference. You know, with the Jonesville example, it didn't take a lot for us to feed 150 people that day, but it created, in some ways, a legacy. When we pulled our van up, people recognized that UNCP was there, and really, we just served chicken and rice. So maybe $100 to feed 100 people. It was not a significant amount of money, but the impact was significant. Because I made connections that day that have grown since then that will continue to support our efforts in the long run. So I encourage people, this is my call to action. Get involved, do something, do anything. I talk to students all the time about an hour a week could really change someone's life. Let's think about a student who's about to drop out of school. Maybe one of the reasons they're going to drop out of high school is because no one's told them that they could go to college. And because you're here, you're already setting an example. Go spend an hour a week at Purnell Sweat High School and tell someone, yeah, you can do it. And that could be the thing that changes their mind. That could be the thing that changes their life. So you don't have to do a lot, just do something.
Great. On that note, we want to thank you for coming and talking to us, and thanks to our viewers for joining us here on Campus to Community. We'll continue to talk to service learning faculty and students this semester. I'm Hannah Baggott-Anderson. See you next time.